let's talk about Star Wars today. So you clicked on this video because you want to know my thoughts about Mace Windu. Well, I'll get into that. But first, if you like Disney theories, then you came to the right place. And if you want to see more, hit that button and that subscribe button, because I do Disney theories discussions. Once in a while, I'll do a Disney vlog if I go to the parks, and I do some other stuff as well. I do have other videos that I've done in the past, but mostly I focus on the theories that you want to hear. With that being said, let's get to the intro. So, why does Mace Windu have a purple lightsaber? Well, because he's the only one that we see with the purple lightsaber. Well, why is that? Well, there are a few theories out there, because, on how lightsabers are actually made. But there is actually a logical explanation for this, which was a move by Samuel Jackson himself. But I'm actually going to tell you the theory on why it's just a coincidence that he decided to do this with his story and how his character actually portrayed in the film. I am rambling on again. Why do I always do this? Anyway, Mace Windu has a purple lightsaber because Samuel Jackson said, hey, he's an awesome Jedi, and I want to be able to see him spot out in the big battle scene. I want to be able to spot the purple lightsaber from anywhere. That's what he said. He said, I want a purple lightsaber. Now, if we talk about how a lightsaber was actually created, this could be the potential problem for Mace Windu, and possibly having him go to the dark side. If you're trying to think of what I mean by that, think about how Anakin went to the dark side. He was kind of torn between the two sides and eventually got pulled over. Well, Mace Windu could potentially be torn between the two sides. Not necessarily torn, but definitely have knowledge of both sides. Just how Emperor Palpatine said that he had knowledge of, any good Jedi has the knowledge of, both sides. And knows how to control and do both sides. Not necessarily. Yoda can't. Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, they all can't, do dark side things and still maintain their Jedi-ness. Is that a word? So, with that being said, let's talk about how crystals were actually made. How lightsabers are actually made. So, at least for the Jedi, they actually... Stupid phone. So, in Star Wars lore, each Jedi actually creates their own lightsaber. We see Luke get a blue lightsaber in the beginning, but then eventually he learns the Force and he then creates his iconic green lightsaber. That is his. The other one was obviously his father's. So, in order to create a lightsaber, you have to have a kyber crystal. It's a natural occurring rare material within the Star Wars universe. And basically, you take that crystal, you use the Force, midichlorians and all, and you basically construct that crystal, harness its power, and create the blade of a saber. And when kyber crystals are actually found, they're actually a single color, colorless. And each Jedi uses their Force, their power, to harness the color that best represents them. So, Luke created a green saber, and if he ever creates a new saber, constantly it's going to be a green saber. Obi-Wan and Anakin both had blue sabers. Qui-Gon had a green saber. You also see yellow sabers. So the color is created because of its user that created the saber and built the saber. It is a color representation of themselves, essentially. So why is Mace Windu the only one with a purple saber? Well, on the dark side, you can't create a red saber. The power of red just doesn't come from the kyber crystals themselves. So you essentially have to, use a lot of the dark force, the dark side, and basically put your blood, sweat, and tears into making this crystal and giving it lots of dark powers. This process is called bleeding, because essentially you're putting all that evilness into that crystal, bleeding into it to create that red hue that we see with the Siths. But sorry, my phone's going off like crazy right now because while I'm recording this video, I have another thing going on, and one more. So, with Mace Windu, he has a purple saber. What two colors do we know that make purple? Blue and red. So if you can't get a red hue in your sabers, how did Mace Windu get a purple saber? I will explain that in just a moment. Today's video, as always, is sponsored by Raze Energy. Go pick it up at rebelsports.com. Coupon code Johnny Huey, 15% off. Great stuff. See you guys later. So, with Mace Windu and his purple saber, he essentially studies the dark side, and he essentially is in between, because in order to make his purple lightsaber, he would have had to make the blue crystal, but he also had to do some kind of bleeding process into it in order to get that purple hue. It's the only thing that makes sense. And with the fact that he is kind of in between and head of the Jedi Council, and he's like, he wouldn't have studied, the dark side of Force. Maybe with it in his studying to try to figure out the dark side of Force, maybe he got a little too much into it in order to, learn from it. And with that process, he could potentially be somewhat of a dark side, and he would possibly, with the lightsaber being purple, he could potentially be the key balance to the Force. He is right there in between. You know, so he's both sides, good and evil. I've seen him do some very good things, you know, and we've seen him do some very evil things. So he's that good balance of the Force. If you have a spectrum of, you know, good and evil, let's say if he never died, you know, we would have, you know, two Jedis on one side. We had Anakin and Obi-Wan before Obi-Wan and, you know, Yoda died and stuff like that. But let's say hypothetically we had Anakin and one other Jedi or someone that used the Force. Let's say Leia maybe. And then on the other side you have the Emperor and Darth Vader. And Mace Windu would be right in the middle, so it would be nice, even balance. Anyway, I'm going off on something that is not what I'm trying to talk about in this video. Anyway, so we have Mace Windu creating the purple lightsaber, and the evil thing that we've seen him do is, you know, yes, we've seen Jedi kill mostly in self-defense, but he straight up goes up to a defenseless old man and tries to kill him. Yes, this is Emperor Palpatine, and probably should die, but it is what it is. So, with that being said, because of the lore of Korean lightsabers states that red hue cannot be in a lightsaber unless you use the dark side of the Force to create that red hue. Therefore, Mace Windu cannot have a purple lightsaber unless he did have some form of dark Force midichlorians or anything within his body or in his personality. So, Mace Windu is in fact partially a Sith, but not really. He's a Jedi Sith. He's two sides of a coin. He's a perfect balance of light and dark. And that is why his lightsaber is purple. Also, like I said in the beginning, it's really just because the actor, Samuel Jackson, was like, yeah, I want to put lightsaber. I want to be able to stand out. But I like my theory a little more. Anyway, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time.